Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teaching Music Tomorrow. My name is Victoria Bowler and I am here with my wonderful friend Anne Molesky, and today we get to continue some of our conversation about unpitched percussion, about some of these instruments that very often we have like in the back of our classroom that maybe we pull out sometimes, maybe we don't, maybe they kind of get lost in the shuffle and in all of the glory of barred instruments and recorder and things like that. So today we get to talk a little bit more about some ways to use unpitched percussion, things that are skins, metals, shakers, scrapers, all of that good stuff. And last episode, we talked about some of the classroom management stuff that goes on with instruments. And that is, I don't know about you. For me, when I think about my own instrument use and when I have conversations with other colleagues, the classroom management piece is one of the biggest reasons that, I'll speak for myself, that we tend to shy away from unpitched percussion stuff. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's like an extra thing to do, right? And it feels like a time waster if we don't have good transitions put in place and the kids don't know what to do. I think that also happens if we don't use them very often, right? Like if something novel comes out, the kids are really excited, and so it makes it a little trickier to get things moving the way we would want to. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's something that we can talk about in our classroom management conversation, which people can listen to if they're interested in that. You can go to teachingmusictomorrow.com and grab all of these episodes all at once. You can grab our slides, and then we'll have a conversation about that really important classroom management piece that helps us keep things moving so we don't get bogged down.
Yeah, and we usually don't, we have just recently with these kind of series, we've added, if you go and sign up, again, absolutely free, we do share our process and notation along with the slides. So there's some extra goodies there if you do choose to go ahead and sign up.
Beautiful.
For sure.
Okay, let's do...
So Victoria, you ready? You gonna dive in?
Yeah, let's do it. Anne, can you tell me what you are seeing on our board here?
Says, listen to the sun, listen to the sun, listen to the sunshine all day long.
Beautiful. And you already knew how to say it with the slides and everything like that. Wow, incredible. What else do you notice about what we're looking at here? You might think about the texture or the colors or the shapes, or just what do you see here?
I see different colors, and I see different lengths and durations.
Interesting. I love it. Okay, so we'll go around and say, like, what do you notice? What do you wonder? What could this mean? Okay, could you turn your fingers into people? And I noticed that some of our shapes here are kind of short, and some of them, like you said, are a little bit more extended, and then some of them are kind of in between. I also noticed that they're all different colors. Okay, can you turn your fingers into people and find a way to show these short sounds and these long sounds, and these kind of in-between sounds that we have on the board here? I'll speak it. You're just moving your finger, people. Here we go. Listen to the sun. Listen to the sun. Listen to the sun shine all day long. With your finger, people, Anne, could you find a different way to show these shapes on the board? Something different that you did not do last time. Let's try it together. Here we go. Listen to the sun, listen to the sun, listen to the sun shine all day long. Will you turn to your shoulder partner, whoosh, this is my sign for turn to someone, whoosh, and teach them what you just did with your finger, people? Great, that was a lovely time. Now, could you stand, this is my sign for stand, and could you choose one of your favorite ways that you just moved and that you just talked about with your shoulder partner? Will you choose one of your favorite ways to move around the room in open space? Time out for teacher talk. At this point, we need to know what open space is and how to move our bodies in this open classroom, however open our classroom is. Even if we have desks or whatever else there is, we need to know how to move around. So that's like one thing that needs to happen before this activity. Okay. Will you find your favorite way to show these long and short sounds? So now I do it again. Here we go. Listen to the sun, and listen to the sun. Listen to the sun shine all day long. So with our short sounds, very likely students, especially depending on how much work like this we have done, very likely we're going to have students we'll notice that students tiptoe those, or they'll have another thing, like they might do a heel toe kind of thing. For the sun, we might have a slide again, especially if students are used to this kind of model of things that we've been doing in class. But we also might have students slide like one foot and then the other foot. We might have students jump and try to land. Same thing with the sunshine all day long. If they do the steps, that would make a lot of sense, but they could also jump. They could also hop on one foot. They might jump in place, or they might jump here and there, like in a zigzag kind of thing. And same thing with, really this whole entire movement work. There are lots of ways that students might choose to move beyond just the tiptoe slide step. They might choose to do it like with their hands in the air, like they are stars in the sky. They might choose to do it low to the ground. The sun, we will likely see them slide, but they might turn their whole body into that slide, and they might just lay down on the ground for that, So lots of ways, lots of ways that we can tiptoe and step and slide that do not all have to look exactly the same. Okay, great. Let's move along, not to that. Let's move along to this. Eventually, I'll put this on the board and we will clap, snap, and pat this together. Here we go. Listen to the sun. Listen to the sun. Listen to the sun shine all day long. With that snap, I want us to show that the sound is extended, like that slide that we were just doing. So let's try it again. Here we go. Listen to the sun. Listen to the sun. Listen to the sun shine all day long. Beautiful. Next step after that is we're going to do some transferring of our body percussion to some other instruments. So our clapping is the same motion as our rhythm sticks right here. So listen to the gets transferred to rhythm sticks. Our snap is now any sort of metallic ringing kind of sound. I have finger cymbals here on the board, but it could be anything. It could be like a triangle, just anything that will extend that sound. And then listen to the sunshine all day long. That was a pat before, so I'm going to take that, and that gets transferred to a hand drum all day long. And this is something that I will have students kind of think with me, like which one would work best for listen to the. Well, if I use my finger cymbals, could I do that? Listen to the. Yes, absolutely. Would that work? Absolutely. What about my rhythm sticks? Could I use my rhythm sticks to show sun, that really long sound? Well, yeah, sure, I totally could. I could scrape them. Or I could do the thing that I was doing with my snap, where I snapped and then I kind of moved to show that it's a long sound. So there are lots of options for how we might choose to orchestrate this. And students, as long as they have a reason, as long as they have something that they can connect it to, as far as like evidence of why their idea is a good idea, beautiful, great, let's try it. So this is something where I might have these 3 instruments. It just depends on time. Like sometimes it's like, here we go, this is what we're doing, and I'm going to tell you, you play here, you play here, you play here. But if there's room to let this breathe a little bit more, I would have these 3 instruments in the middle of the circle, and students can choose which ones would work with which rhythm durations. Okay, let's listen to the sun.
Yeah, I love it. As you were speaking, I was thinking about the half note piece, because I think that wouldn't be just like the tricky part, but it would be the one that I would not maybe focus on, just because, right, the duration piece is is something that I would want to give adequate attention to. I don't know how else to
Mm-hmm.
phrase that. But what I liked was that they saw the like kind of iconic representation of how it's going to be longer, and then they spoke it to that way, and then they felt it that way, so that even when you got to the snap, which is just like
Mm-hmm.
a right, just kind
Yep.
of a what's
Just
the word
one
I'm
sound
looking
and then it's
for?
done.
Just like the crucis, like there it
Yep.
is, which is right there, right? But by having them being used to saying sun and sliding to sun, and then when we get there, I wonder, and you could tell me how many students just naturally would do that motion, just because it's been so ingrained in what they've done so far. Because
Yeah.
you've done the speech with the visual representation, you've moved like from the fine motor to the gross
Mm-hmm.
motor, so it's very embodied before you've gone to the instruments, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about these beforehand, but our process is very similar. Um, but yeah, so I kept thinking about the half note and how this would be a good half note chant, because you have to give special attention to that duration
To that
piece with the
elongated
unpitched
sound.
percussion.
That's
Yeah.
something that we talk about specifically in marimba. When you have like a legato
Mm.
phrase, on a vibraphone or on a piano, we have this beautiful pedal, or on a piano specifically, we have this beautiful thing called our finger just holds down the note, right, for a longer time. But how do you show that on kind of like a one and done instrument like a marimba? And the way you do that is, my teacher used to always say, like, the audience listens with their eyes. And so if you want to show
Mm.
a legato phrase, your arm becomes the legato motion. You're showing that with your body. And that's something that, this teacher had a lot of brilliant, brilliant, brilliant things to share. And that was one of them that I kind of always hung on to. And I've been able to kind of transfer it to things like unpitched percussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that it was so intentionally sequenced, obviously, to where you got to the unpitched percussion portion, but there was lots of opportunity for student choice within that, right? Like they got to show how they were going to do things. Even with the unpitched percussion, you could switch up the instruments, right? They could have some choice there, however they want to play it, as long as they can still show the character of each of the sections of the rhyme. It all
Yeah.
works. Yeah, it's beautiful.
One thing I
Love
did
it.
not say here, that just for anyone, following along at home, if you want to try this is such a beautiful round as well. Especially like the movement thing, because you have different people like elongating things and like the short sounds. And so you can layer things together and do it in a round or peel them apart. It's a really lovely rhyme. It's one of my favorites, and I use it too much and then I have to take a break. So right now I'm on a break with this rhyme. All right, Anne, what do you
Well,
have?
I loved it.
Good.
I do not need a break. Okay. Should I make you speak it? Give it a try. Ready, set, and here you go.
Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. Huckleberry ice cream, what a treat! Waffle cone or sugar cone or scooped in a bowl. Huckleberry ice cream, we want more.
Oh, I liked that. Okay, so I love the rhyme Mississauga Rattlesnake, and it is found in the Alligator Pie book by Dennis Lee, but that is copyrighted material. But this is the same rhythm as that. So if you want to go check that out from your library and copy paste, you could. So I created this because huckleberries in Eastern Washington are a big thing. And so Huckleberry ice cream is delicious. You can go to Silverwood, our local theme park, and get a cone as big as your head. And it was my favorite thing to do when I was pregnant all 3 times. So Huckleberry ice cream, right? So I do the third line a little different. So Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. Huckleberry ice cream, what a treat. Waffle cone or sugar cone or scooped into a bowl. Huckleberry ice cream, we want more. And we could say more. It wouldn't have the R. No. Anyway. Okay. So now what words do you see a different color this time,
I see
Victoria?
huckleberry ice cream is now the color of a huckleberry.
Huckleberry. Yeah, as close as I could get.
Yeah.
Right, as it comes through the screen. It's kind of like the color when like your kid smashes the huckleberry
Yes.
and it's just like residue, right? It's not the rich purple, it's more of just like the red, kind of like blueberries. Here, let me grab my thing so I can make sure I'm telling you exactly what I want to tell you. Yes, wonderful. Okay, so this teacher talk aside, this could also be a moment to just go ahead and like turn this into the rhythm, right? So instead of just saying like highlighting the Huckleberry ice cream, you could also just translate the text into ticka ticka tee tee or whatever, or takadimi tati or whatever it is that you like to say. But for our purposes today, let's go ahead and just keep it with text, okay? So this time, what I would love it for you to do is when we get to that Huckleberry ice cream, let's turn that into pats. So a patting alternating on your legs, okay? So ready, set, and here we go. Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. Huckleberry ice cream, what a treat. Waffle cone or sugar cone are scooped into a bowl. Huckleberry ice cream, we want more. Yeah, and I'll make sure that this is fixed before I upload to our place where people can get slides, since it was kind of over off to the side in the border. Awesome. So this time now we have some other words that are highlighted in a different color. So what color do you see these words now, Victoria?
Now I see things in blue.
They're in blue, and they're all different, so we don't have to go through it. But all the blue words after Huckleberry ice cream are going to be claps. So it's going to look like this. Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. And you kind of have to freeze, right? Did not do that last one. Okay, so ready, set, and give it a try. Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. Huckleberry ice cream, what a treat. Waffle cone or sugar cone are scooped into a bowl. Huckleberry ice cream, we want more. Yeah, and that's kind of tricky. And honestly, kids would probably clap all of them, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. But we just want to get that feel going to different levels of the body percussion, right? Because it is kind of a quick little guy. Okay. And then this last one. Now, what color do you see? Why are all of these off center? Now, what color do you see, Victoria?
Now I have yellow.
Yellow. So we have sweet, treat, and more. Okay, so when we get to that, let's make it a snap. Okay, this time we're going to do a snap. Okay, ready, set, and here we go. Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. Huckleberry ice cream, what a treat. Waffle cone or sugar cone are scooped into a bowl. Huckleberry ice cream, we want more. Yeah, okay, so now we have one more spot that we still need something for, right? And it is that third super duper fast line that is also off center. All right, let's fix it. Here we go. So now what we're going to do, what color do you notice that is, Victoria?
That's the same color as the huckleberries.
As the Huckleberry ice cream. So where are they going to be on our bodies?
We'll probably pat them, eh?
Yeah, we're going to pat those. So once you get there, you're going to keep all of that right there on your legs. Okay, give it a try. Ready, set, and here you go. Huckleberry ice cream tastes so sweet. Huckleberry ice cream, what a treat. Waffle cone or sugar cone are scooped into a bowl. Huckleberry ice cream, we want more. Yeah, lovely. We have an extra long delay today. Okay, so here I want to take a moment because this is an unpitched percussion podcast episode. However, you could stop here. You could stop here, or you could stick with body percussion and do it in canon, take the words out, all that good stuff. You could get fancy with the padding stuff and do some like crossover stuff, right? So like huckleberry or waffle cone or sugar cone or scooped into a bowl, whether it's like on your own legs or like you could, I don't know, you could choreograph something if you're fancier than I am, and like do it on a neighbor's knees. I don't know. You know, you could get flashy and fancy. But for our purposes today, we're going to do something very similar to what you have already heard. And we are going to transfer to instruments. So out of the djembe, the sticks, and the triangle, which one of those sounds do you think is closest to our legs, the padding on our legs?
I would say the djembe.
Probably the djembe. So we're going to have part of the class do that. We're going to have part of the class do the sticks, which would be what color?
The blue.
The blue. And then the triangle would be the
yellow.
Yellow, right. Okay, so this is kind of like our stopping point because it could go 80 million different ways. And apologies for the red spell check line underneath my my font notation there. It won't be there when you look at your slides, but this is a place where it's kind of like choose your own adventure, right? So you could have the students in 3 different groups. You could have just 3 of these instruments. You could have a huge form where, you start with the body percussion, you do it in canon. As you chant the rhyme in unison, everybody goes to their instruments. You do the instruments in unison, and then you do the instruments in canon. You know what I mean? Like there's 80 million trillion different ways that you can do it. But for me, the big take home is that we have this embodied experience. I keep saying it over and over again. I'm a broken record. Before we ask students to go to something external, right? And it doesn't have to be these instruments. So maybe these are the instruments that students that I introduce at first, but then maybe they get into small groups of 3 and they choose their own 3 instruments, right? They choose their own instruments to decide what they like the sound of, regardless of how it translates directly from the body percussion, right? And it turns into more something a little bit different. And again, I probably missed that same scaffold stuff as I did last episode, where having to play your djembe and then stop and wait for your next turn is kind of tricky. So maybe before passing out instruments, you either have the 3 students, right, doing it in the middle, or you have a group of just the pats, a group of just the claps, a group of just the snaps, and then everybody gets a turn doing every single part, so they know what it feels like to get in there, right?
Well, and like if this is, your first year at a new campus, then yeah, probably you're going to want to take like all of those tiny little steps like we talked about. But honestly, like if these are your 3rd graders, if these are your, late semester 2nd graders, they won't need every single step, because again, think about like all the stuff that you did with 2, 4, 6, 8. Like by the time you do like 7 or 8 of those activities, and now we're here with Huckleberry Ice Cream, like they've got it. Like there's a total flow there. You mentioned that maybe it's a situation where students choose their own instruments, and maybe it doesn't matter what the body percussion was. Maybe there's not like a very direct link. However, I also know that you chose those instruments very intentionally to be linked to the body percussion piece. So can you talk to us about some of your thinking around that? Because that was intentional.
Yeah, so I think, we talked at the beginning of the last episode about how so often we're focused on the tuned percussion instruments, right? The bars and whatnot. But there's important things to discuss in terms of timbre and register and higher versus lower and duration, as you talked about, and resonance with different instruments. And so the triangle would not work very well for waffle cone or sugar cone. Is like, yeah, exactly.
You do it in the middle.
Like, I'm sure there's like a Will Ferrell skit in there somewhere, right? But I just think that so that's part of it, right? Like playing the drum for like those fast 16th notes, waffle cone or sugar cone or scooped into a bowl, is important. So that's a conversation to have, right? A conversation before you say, okay, you're welcome to go pick your own instruments, but let's look at this notation, right? And let me go here for a minute. Let's look at this notation and like, all right, you have, if you're going to do the purple or the pink or whatever color the Huckleberry text, if you will, then you have to think about playing those fast 16th notes, because there's a reason that we put those in pats instead of claps, right? Because you can do it, but it doesn't feel as good as doing it on the pats, because you can do that altering, right? And then the triangle is just that doo, right? And the finger cymbals would work. You could do it with sticks, but again, like you have to think about all those musicality elements. So that's a good conversation to have with your students before you sort of set them loose, and things that they can figure out, like, well, this instrument is good for this because of blank, right? So yeah.
Yeah, so you're describing that there's a mechanism piece of it, like an efficiency of motion.
Yes.
This padding
Like a
is
facility
much
thing.
more, yes, facility. It's much more efficient to do this than to try to do it with a triangle. So you're talking about the actual playing mechanism, how we can transfer the same motion of patting our legs to now I just replace my knee with a hand drum, and there you are. It's the exact same thing. Same thing like you had us clap, and then your clap transferred to our rhythm sticks, because again, It's the exact same thing. I'm just changing that. Now I'm holding rhythm sticks. So there's the mechanism of playing, but then you're also talking a lot. You use the word timbre a lot. And your question to me was like, what's the timbre that matches this the closest? So you specifically were asking about what the instrument sounds like, not only how we play it. So even though you and I are all for like, let kids decide and like there's no wrong answers and like let them choose and let them, explore and figure it out on their own. Yes, 100%. And we on the back end, we know that there is a specific link that you made for this body percussion to match with this specific unpitched percussion instrument.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, again, having those opportunities for kids to try things out and talk about what's different and what they notice. So if you have small groups of 3 and you're letting them choose their own instruments, then give them a chance to perform it for everybody else so that there can be a whole class discussion. Well, this group was different than this group. It seemed like Victoria was having trouble playing those 16th notes on her triangle. I wonder if they switched, what would happen, So I think that those are all really valuable because it's kind of like it's the equivalent of when you're deriving a new pitch name. I do this all the time. It's like a really fun musicianship exercise. And the kids guess the wrong one, and you have to sing the wrong one so that they understand, right? They understand that it doesn't fit. It's kind of like that. It's like just that whole discrimination learning piece can come into play when they have the opportunity to choose and be like, oh, maybe that was a great choice. It was different, not bad or good or better, but just different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So. Yep. And that's how we learn, and sometimes the teacher, like I said, like sometimes it's like, you play this, you play this, you play this just for use of time. Right. But sometimes we do have room to like, let these things breathe and let students become their own kind of musical, like testing contingencies. So like, if this, then this, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? So all good stuff. I love that, Anne. What a fun activity. I love that.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys liked what you heard, which we hope you did, and you want to access the sequencing and the slides and the notation for all of this good stuff, plus that extra classroom management piece, and you're listening to this for real and you want to go binge watch all the things about our next topic, which is going to be recorder, head on over to teachingmusictomorrow.com. Just totally free. Throw your email in there and you get access to all this and all the kindergarten stuff if you haven't yet gotten that. It's all in one spot. So